So, do you want me looking at the camera? All right, I started this channel because I'm a maker and an electrical engineer, and I have a lot of unique designs, and the concepts behind them are things that I think people can learn stuff and make their own design. I'd like to pass along the things I've learned, and you know, every design has a rabbit hole that I go down to figure out how I'm going to do it this way or that way. And I would like to bring you along down that rabbit hole with me. As an electrical engineer, I went to the dark side a bunch of years back and started doing software and embedded systems. So I'm a hardware engineer who is also a software engineer. So I've got a bunch of tools at my command. I repurpose machines. I take one machine that's doing one thing and I'll make it do something else. I'm a hacker. So I'm always looking for different ways of using things so that I don't have to work as hard. Being creative means to look at things and not be functional fixed. So I go in the Home Depot and I'm looking for a part that does something, and I don't know which part it's going to be. A Home Depot employee will come up and say, "What can I help you with?" And I go, "I really don't know what. I'll know it when I see it." And I've used a pool drain as a wheel for my vinyl in my vinyl shop. I've used the test plug that goes in a pipe to go into a roll of vinyl to act as the part that holds the wheel. So I've lived in Florida since 1959, and I've been through a lot of hurricanes. This year I decided that I'm going to design a storm shelter system that's lighter and easier to put up. I have a storm shelter system now that is made out of galvanized roofing. And it's heavy and it's cumbersome and it's hard to move around. So this system I came up with is lighter, easier to use. I've designed software to help me make the panels that go together, and I've come up with a whole system. It's a good example of a lot of the things I can do. So I wrote software in JavaScript to allow me to generate instructions for a CNC router to cut the larger panels into the smaller sections that I need for each storm shutter. I needed a drag knife, and I designed one in Fusion 360 to work with the shopbot. I wanted to see how the instructions for the shopbot would work out, so I wrote an animation routine that takes the instructions that I generated for the shopbot and animates the knife going around the panel and cutting it up. So I designed the drag knife holder in Fusion 360 and 3D printed it. So the shopbot has a router, and normally you route plywood and things like that. I've added a drag knife to its tools that it can use. In fact, I wrote special software to line the drag knife up with its next cut and designed a little system on the holder so it has a foot that comes down and allows you to rotate it around without the knife going in, and then line it up for the next cut. So in the second episode, we're going to talk about the panel layout software that I wrote to generate shopbot code to cut the panels up into their individual pieces. So in the third episode, we're going to talk about the drag knife, how I designed it in Fusion 360, how I 3D printed it, how I put it together using parts I could buy from the hardware store, and created a system to cut the panels on the shopbot. And for anybody who's wanting to learn about the code, those comments are another level that goes beyond anything we're going to discuss here in this video. So if you're interested in figuring out how the code works, it's out there on GitHub. Protosmiths channel has its own GitHub, and I actually have put it so that you can see the program work off of that GitHub